So let's get started with, we're gonna do quick intros all around the table here, and I'm gonna go with right here with you, Josh, and then we're just gonna keep going in this direction, if that's cool. So, Josh, please, the stage is yours.
Hello, I'm Josh Trunk. I'm the dev manager at Elegant Themes. Our product is Divi. We're a WordPress theme and page builder. I've been with Elegant for about a little over 9 years, so excited to be here.
Awesome.
I think that's next.
Yeah, Simon, you're next.
I'm next to the row. Yeah, hi. I'm Simon, CEO at BaseKit. So maybe a little bit different to some of the others on the panel. We're not so much in the WordPress ecosystem, but we make a sort of...
Hey everyone, I'm Raitis Chevelis. I'm from WP Bakery and Visual Composer, and I'm doing product management there and user interface, user experience design. And I'm totally in WordPress for more than 9 years, I guess.
Over to you, Robbie. Oh, I think we can't hear you.
Here, how about now?
Yeah, that's perfect.
All right. Yeah, hey, I'm Robbie McCullough. I am one of the co-founders of Beaver Builder, and I'm joining from sunny California.
Awesome.
Great.
Then we're going to go right here to Dimi.
Yes, you caught me by surprise. I thought Nick was next. It's fine.
Okay.
I'll go next. No, it's fine. I'm Dimi, one of the co-founders and CEO of Breezy. We're building this very nice ecosystem that it's in WordPress and also in cloud and has a very nice layer that communicates between them. So very exciting to be here. I waited, it's 5 p.m. I waited all day to be on this panel. So yeah, that's awesome.
Well, I guess I'm next. I don't need Vito to point at
me.
Yeah.
It's Miriam.
I'm Miriam Schwab. I am the co-founder of a product called Stratic, not connected to Page Builders, acquired by Elementor. I'm here filling in for Amitai Gatz, our CPO. He just wasn't able to make it, but excited to be here. I've used many of you Page Builders because prior to founding Stratic, I had an agency. I've been in the WordPress space for like 15 years, so dabbled in a lot of your products and very excited to be here.
Awesome. Over to you, Ben.
Yeah, so I'm Benjamin Intal. I am the founder and lead developer of Stackable. So Stackable is a plugin that provides page builder blocks for WordPress. I've been developing in WordPress since 2018. Yeah, so thanks for having me.
Hey everybody, my name is Russ Jeffrey. I'm the director of platform and product strategy at Duda. Duda is the website builder for agencies and web professionals more broadly. So instead of just being small business focused, we get to focus on agencies and their use cases, which is why we're here.
Awesome.
All right. Excuse me. My name is Nick Diego. I'm on the developer relations team at Automatic, but specifically on the .org division. So we are basically full-time core contributors to WordPress. So I'm here representing WordPress and Gutenberg. And yeah, and again, I've used most of your platforms in my previous work. So really excited to be here.
Perfect. So thank you again, everyone that has joined us today, as well as everyone that is joining us on the chat. If you have any questions, please drop them over there and we'll try and answer as many as possible. And yeah, we have Barry from Yoast saying very excited about the Battle of the Builders. Gary saying, hey, George and Michael, how are you boys today? Just having a discussion here. Gianni is saying BaseKit rocks. Andrew is saying welcome, Josh from Divi and everyone else, plus my personal photographer, Robbie. So there's a lot of action happening in here, and I'll bring some of these discussions over to the table. I'd like to start with a discussion around Gutenberg and how that is affecting the WordPress ecosystem of page builders first. So I'd actually like to hear from you, Nick, and we'll start from your perspective as to where does this sit in that world, and then we'll talk to some of the other folks in the room.
Yeah, so I mean, I think that most of these tools, maybe not all, began prior to Gutenberg. You know, we saw that the community wanted,
a no-code solution to build and design with WordPress, which has led to a lot of successful companies, many of which are on this panel. And I think that Gutenberg is not out to kill page builders. I mean, WordPress is such a broad ecosystem. There are many ways to build with WordPress, but the idea behind Gutenberg is just to make the core vanilla WordPress more accessible to no-code builders. In the past, you would need a lot more tools for someone who really was new to building to build and design their own website. And Gutenberg is trying to solve that from the core side. But I want to stress that WordPress is huge. People should be able to build the way they want to build, which includes many of the page builders on this panel. So I want to stress that Gutenberg is not out to attack page builders. It's just to make the vanilla WordPress more approachable to no-code and designers and people who maybe not have the technical acumen to design and code their own theme.
Well, I definitely see the use for someone that is coming into WordPress for the first time and trying to understand what to use. And I think that that will have some kind of a solution available to them straight away. But I think that this is also what helped contribute to the growth of a lot of the page builders. So I'd like to address this to Robbie. How are you guys, how is your team reacting to this change in the landscape?
Yeah, it's funny. I remember the first WordCamp we ever did. It was San Francisco before WordCamp US started becoming the kind of de facto US camp, and we were going around telling people that we were working on this page builder, and a lot of people's reaction was like, oh, why? Like, a lot of people had a lot of bad history with things like Dreamweaver and Front Page and using WYSIWYG builders, and it was really people frowned on it in the WordPress space. So it's funny, we've come full circle to now where WordPress core is adopting a WYSIWYG builder of their own. Of course, it's been like a roller coaster of emotions trying to figure out and predict what Gutenberg was going to do for our space. But I think we're seeing a lot of people coming to the WordPress ecosystem and having an easier time building pages and getting started with a website now that solution's available. And then, if they're looking for something a little more, of all of us offering, page builders and advanced functionality or niche functionality that can, complement what WordPress core is doing.
I love that. And with that initial onboarding experience, exactly like you were saying, Robbie, there is this constant discussion within our space regarding that initial onboarding and how do we get people to get to that final result of a website. So I'd like to take this question actually to Russ, and because it seems that from builders that are external to the ecosystem, that has been a main focus for you and for Simon, and even with Dimi's cloud-based product. So how are you looking into that initial onboarding flow, and maybe how can the ecosystem learn from what you are already doing in that space?
Yeah, absolutely. I think one of the benefits that we really have is we can really focus on kind of that core, experience of what is it to design a site and kind of rethink it from the ground up, right? Our structure and hierarchy is really different than WordPress core. And so we're able to say, great, how can we think that, great, adding an image and adding content and importing content is going to be as easy as possible. One of the things we also spend a lot of time thinking about is how can an agency get content into the site, get it from their clients, import it? Can they use a form that's a lot simpler to input than, having them log into the builder itself? Because even our builder can be too intimidating for a lot of small businesses themselves and accessing that. So how are we empowering the onboarding of the agency for their small businesses too is also a big kind of thought process and an area for us. Yeah.
And with this, I'd like to ask the same question over to you, Simon, please. How are you addressing that onboarding flow? And we'll talk a little bit about. So going back to Russ for a second, I would like to go to that content discussion a little later, because this is really interesting, and I think that there's a few different angles on this panel that are approaching this. But before we go to that, Simon, let's stay with with the onboarding flow and like being external to that space, because I see that especially with BaseKit, there's a lot of work that is being done to serve DIYers straight from the host side of things as well. And so how do you approach that aspect?
Yeah, I think we maybe come from a slightly interesting angle here, because we ultimately are trying to make a product that everyone can use. We're not necessarily aimed at agencies, so we need to make a product that micro businesses can use and they can pick up straight away, and within minutes start to feel confident and start to get content onto the site and actually build something that they love and it is their website. So for us, that's about simplifying things as much as possible. We've got very custom onboarding, which is actually a cut down version of the full product, which only offers some of the design and flexibility and options that we have within the product, just to get somebody through those first few minutes and to get them to their first page, so they feel like they're actually making progress. So it's definitely a challenge trying to build a product that everyone can use, but still that agencies can get some benefit from as well.
Right. And I see that this flow has happened for Breezy specifically, from coming in as a WordPress page builder initially, but then you launched a Breezy Cloud that allowed for people to have that same type of experience, also coming in from the host like Duda, BaseKit, and you are doing as well, Dimi. And how is that journey happening? And I think that will connect us nicely to Elementor Cloud as well, because that is the same type of journey that happened there later on. But what led you to that decision and this journey, Dimi?
We always we started in 2018 with Breezy WordPress, and in late 2019 launched Breezy Cloud. But we always developed Breezy as a builder with an ecosystem in mind. And actually, we are working on another platform to add to our ecosystem. And we are, besides the ease of use and all the functionality that is built in there, the user experience and everything, we are betting on, and I think this will be a very interesting proposition, to be able to create once and publish in multiple platforms.
Right.
You can go cloud. Maybe a project starts to be more complex, and you figure out that maybe WordPress is a better solution for your agency or for you. It doesn't really make sense to start building everything from scratch, right? So having this layer that communicates horizontally with the entire ecosystem, WordPress, cloud, and so on and so forth. I don't want to say more because it's sort of under wraps. This is what we are focusing on. So basically, creating an ecosystem around the very easy to use page builder. Yeah.
Okay, and that's very interesting, and this really connects to what you were doing at Elementor, Miriam. So you came from Stratic, which is a hosting company, and then it was acquired by Elementor, maybe to expand on the cloud offering that is happening. I'm not sure. But I would love to hear about that journey of a page builder acquiring a host and then starting to simulate into that space as well, which sometimes happen the other way around, but is an interesting journey that happened in there. So what can you tell us about that flow from a page builder into Elementor Cloud? Who are these tools really for? And looking at it from a perspective of an agency specifically.
So Stratic's relationship with Elementor started way before this was even like a twinkle in anyone's eyes that we would join forces. Because as many of you, like if you're involved in hosting in any way, like when I speak to hosting companies and they tell me the percentage of their users that are using Elementor, it's quite high. And so we saw that as well at Stratic, where more and more of our customers were using Elementor, and we need to make sure we supported it, just because the usage was so widespread. And of course, that helped me come to appreciate Elementor more and more. I was kind of a snob in my agency, and I was like, only advanced custom fields and custom, all that kind of stuff. No page builders for us. But through Stratic, and then of course now I've come to appreciate the benefit that all of you are bringing as page builders to the ecosystem, where it enables people to get up and running with websites so seamlessly without having to know to code. We're in an era where people should not have to know how to code to get something on the internet, right? We have particularly the younger generations where they're using Instagram and TikTok, and they're like getting their media and their content up there, and then they come into WordPress and it's like, oh, make your homepage static, and they're like, what are you talking about? Goodbye. So I think that all of the products here on this panel bring a ton of value to the WordPress ecosystem in general. It's great to see, and Gutenberg as well, bringing it into core, it's key. So in terms of our journey here, so I think Stratic joining Elementor also represents Elementor's perspective in terms of building and deploying websites, which is you have the experience of the page builder experience, and easily, hopefully, building beautiful websites and etc. But then it doesn't end there, right? It has to go somewhere. Where are you hosting that site? And that's why Elementor has hosting, and that's why Elementor has Stratic, to try to cover all of the needs of web creators and empower them to do their job without having to think about the annoying stuff like code or servers and things like that. So I hope that answers your question more or less.
Yeah, that's very interesting, because a lot of this is happening due to performance challenges that happen within the page builder space as well over the past couple of years. And I remember when I started using these solutions back at my agency years ago. There hasn't been many out there that were offering this type of solution. Mostly it was Visual Composer and Divi, then Beaver came into the scene as well at the time. But I'd like to address this question to you, Aitis. How have you seen that journey of? And then I think that will connect also to the advances that Divi is doing recently. But how have you seen, Aitis, this journey that in the performance of page builders over the past 10 years? Because really, that's where your team has started. And that has been a journey, knowing how your product has evolved as well. So what has been that flow within Visual Composer over the past 10 years from essentially pioneering that concept over to more modern frameworks that are happening in the technology landscape?
Yeah, as you said, it's something like 10 years. And of course, as we are in WordPress, so we follow the technologies that are offered by WordPress to some extent, and of course are looking into ways what to do, what's the extra. Yeah, and when we started, it was all about shortcodes. So there were some restrictions that you can do and you cannot do. There are also benefits even today, like people are all about Gutenberg, but there are benefits for shortcodes as well. Of course, as the time goes on, new technologies come into place, and performance is never-ending game. We see independent reports all the time, and we see how all here are a bit competing, like in a friendly manner. Okay, we could get things a bit faster, and we could get things a bit faster every year, and that's a cool thing. And basically, with WordPress and page builders are looking more into JavaScript at some point. This also opened a huge door to become faster. So we, I think, several years ago, went from WP Bakery to Visual Composer Website Builder. We understood that, okay, we cannot simply rewrite everything for WP Bakery, because there are like plenty of people relying on the product. So that's a mainstream product. Okay, we went after Visual Composer, build it on React, and targeted more agencies. And I think maybe Miriam can comment on that, but that's the same thing, that at some point, user base puts some restrictions on technologies you would love to use, but you're like, can I use them right now? What a user base will tell about it.
Right. And with this journey and the writers, you mentioned the concept of shortcodes, which was primarily driving this the experience for page builders for many years, and we've seen this a way that over the past year or so, many have moved beyond that that workflow. So, Josh, I'd like to address this to you because I know that this is something that is rather relevant to what you're doing at the moment at Divi. How is this transition? Why does this even matter to the agency, to the end user?
It's a good question. So shortcodes is one way of taking, you've built your page, you need to represent all those options that you've chosen. You need to represent that in the post content. It's interesting because even Gutenberg still has a way of representing that in the post content. So while we say we've moved away from shortcodes, technically the underlying concept is very similar. I mean, if you change the syntax around a little bit, it's almost the same thing as a shortcode. Obviously, it's now like a nice little HTML comment wrapped, but it's JSON. But one of the things that is it Radis that mentioned about shortcodes, there's just some things you can't do. For example, nesting the same shortcode in a shortcode, which makes things get a little weird. However, you don't have that limitation inside of the JSON format. So it's opened up a lot of doors. There's also a lot of characters that get really wonky when used in shortcodes, which you don't have that same problem when saving those values in the JSON format. So it opens up a lot of doors for a lot more flexibility. So we're pretty excited about that with Divi 5. So again, we've been here for a long time on the shortcode foundation. But with Divi 5, we're actually making use of the Gutenberg storage format and a lot of the Gutenberg APIs. So I like to go back to the first question a few minutes ago. It was nice to address the elephant in the room of Gutenberg, not competing with, but it is an interesting situation to have WordPress core bring in the same product that we all are. Obviously, a page can be built with a page builder, but can it be built with multiple page builders at the same time? We're actually addressing that and seeing how far we can push that, being able to have Divi on the page with Gutenberg blocks inside there, just interweaving. So that's going to be pretty exciting. But again, to mention the performance aspect, shortcodes have some limitations, and there's a lot of processing that has to go in. JSON is going to be a little bit more simpler and more streamlined and more efficient. I also wanted to say I would really like to see the community moving more towards like PHP 7, PHP 8. I'm coming from a developer perspective, but as far as like what we can and can't do in this big ecosystem with as many people that uses Divi and the other builders out there, there's a lot of performance benefits coming from getting the PHP version up. So I'm excited to see, hopefully WordPress helps push that, but I know a lot of products around the ecosystem have been helping with that. So I think that's going to be really helpful.
Yes, and we've seen that even with the Summit platform that is built on WordPress was upgraded this year to PHP version 8, and you can see the lift straight away when you're at the forefront with these things. Thank you, Josh. And I would like to look at another concept that has been very common in the page builders world, which is creating those ecosystems around the product. And with this, and it's not only common to inside the WordPress space, but also where Russ, that's actually your title at Duda, right? That's your day-to-day is managing the ecosystem and the tools around that. With this, I'd like to address the next question first of all to Ben, because you're coming in as part of the Gutenberg ecosystem, and you're essentially extending the capabilities of Gutenberg. And this also connects to what Josh was saying, is how can those tools start working together? So what has been your approach when going into that ecosystem, especially, and I think that this has been a challenge all around this room, especially as the base tool keeps evolving on you as a developer. So how have you been approaching those challenges?
So building for Gutenberg is quite a challenge, to be honest, because yeah, you're right. The platform keeps on evolving. So every now and then there's a new Gutenberg plugin release that has more features, more APIs, and then when the new WordPress version comes out, there's also lots of new features that get added in. So it's a lot of catching up with Gutenberg. But for me, what I decided to do was that instead of battling it with Gutenberg, my main point now is that we should just ride the wave and then work alongside with Gutenberg. So whatever Gutenberg has, and then we gladly accept it, and then we work towards it. We work with it. So our main concept is extending Gutenberg and then adding page builder functionalities inside. So we do that by accepting that blocks are self-contained, because if you have the editor as so Gutenberg is the editor, and then if you can have lots of different plugins and lots of different blocks that are inside as well, you can have them activated as well. So how do you play well with other plugins and other blocks that are activated, right? So basically what we treat blocks is that every block is self-contained. So all our inspector stuff, all our options are inside one block for every block. So the moment you switch blocks, the moment you highlight or select another block, the whole inspector changes. So that's the way we cope with things, so that we can work alongside any block.
Right, that's interesting. So you basically self-contain yourself so that you can evolve as things change around you. And so, Miriam, with Elementor, that has been now going in from the other angle, because you have been nurturing a very broad ecosystem around the product with add-ons and with even competing add-ons doing the same thing sometimes. How has this been? How are you managing this growth, and are you seeing this continuing to go in this direction, especially as you're in charge of relations with WordPress now at Elementor, right? What was the was the definition of the role? If I may.
So my official title is head of WordPress relations,
right?
And it involves maintaining, strengthening, and developing relationships with various, like pretty much anyone in the ecosystem that wants to be in touch with us. And that can be a lot of different types of people, from our users to other hosting companies to these extensions. What's amazing about Elementor is that it's become its own mini ecosystem. There's something like over 1,000 third-party extensions built for Elementor, which is insane. Like, that's crazy. But it's amazing because that, I think, is part of the ethos of WordPress, which is why do we have page builders at all? Because all of you saw a need in our space to make the experience better, and came up with this concept of page builders to do that, and then created a plugin to add to the experience, enrich the experience. So, and then that's happening within Elementor itself, where at least 1,000 different individuals or companies or whatever saw a need to extend on Elementor's functionality and bring more value, and it's win-win for everyone. So the users get Elementor's core functionality, and then these other, we can't do everything, all the things. So it's great that it's extensible enough that other companies can do that. And what's also nice about it is that these other companies, many of them are generating serious revenue. So it's creating business. That's one of the things that I've personally really enjoyed about joining Elementor. I was at WordCamp Asia for the first time in my new position, and just I could see the enthusiasm of the users coming to us and being like, "You help me have a business. You help me like make a living. I can support my family, and people can live in all far reaches of the world and be supporting themselves using Elementor." So giving people the ability to support themselves and make a good living is wonderful. And then you see this with these extensions as well. The challenge with it is that these extensions are like associated with Elementor. So if they have a vulnerability or some issue, then we were like, "Oh, Elementor," and it's not necessarily us. So we've been investing in building strong and direct relationships with all of these extensions to make sure that there's not less compatibility issues and that communication around who's who is better.
And this concept of compatibility, and as well as well within Elementor, it seems that the expansion beyond the page builder has gone into the cloud, into that space. But what I'm seeing is that for some of the other folks in the room, there is an expansion going into those marketplaces. For example, for you, Divi, as well as for Duda. For you, Josh, sorry. There is this building of a premium ecosystem or premium products that can be purchased directly from the brand that is rounding them up. And this will be like a three answers journey from you, Josh, over to you, Russ, and eventually over to you, Nick, to see what is going to happen on that front over there as well. And then I think that will connect really nicely to some additional offerings that are coming from you, Robbie, as well as you, Rightis, in that world. But let's start with you, Josh. What was the decision to create that marketplace within Divi?
The main thing driving it is to give the customers like a solid experience. We don't necessarily just want wild west of products out there. I mean, it's fantastic that people want to build products for Divi, and we really appreciate that. And again, it helps the Divi community and all of our mutual customers. We took it in-house to have this managed marketplace to make sure we could put some measure of quality control in there on even other people's products. So we put everything through a pretty stringent code standards. I mean, we still let people do whatever they want to do, but we have like a lot of limits on like what you can't do. You can't have your own built-in upgraders. We don't want things going on behind the scenes. Like literally all lines of code pass through us, and we do everything we can do to make sure, okay, there's no security issues in here to the best that we can affirm. There's no weird stuff, bad stuff, things like that. In performance things, we try to make a lot of suggestions and things to help people make their products the best they can be. Again, these are our mutual customers. So we wanted to help make sure that there's a really good experience. And again, when coming from the Divi brand, it lends to these third-party creators to give them like the brand recognition of like, okay, Divi supports us, and we do. And, there's been sales that we can incorporate their products into our sales, like Black Friday or whatever, something like that. So it just like, it benefits everybody. So we love it.
That's awesome. And then Russ, from Duda's perspective, being external to some of the products here that are within the WordPress ecosystem, you have created essentially a parallel universe, if you will, of these solutions. Even though there are a few that overlap in terms of building plugins for WordPress as well as for Duda. How are you looking into expanding that channel? And I would even point this out, taking this back to the agency world. How can agencies leverage a paid marketplace from your perspective?
Yeah, absolutely. I think one of the great things that we get to focus on from a marketplace perspective is we get to focus more on kind of full tooling and full solutions that are being solved. So we're bringing in fully featured like SaaS products into our marketplace that can be kind of resold by agencies. So an agency can, with a few clicks, integrate that with their website and say, great, I want to include this additional thing for my client. I'm going to charge my client for it on my own. I'm going to go and set it up and manage it on their behalf, right? So maybe that's a full email marketing solution or a full CRM solution that they might want to incorporate, as part of that. And then obviously it integrates with the website where that matters. Great, leads are submitted into the CRM or whatever that might be. And we get to go into those deeper conversations and kind of those richer conversations. It's, it's kind of an interesting that we get to also kind of not have a lot of the kind of the security issues because we're not hosting code on our side. We have kind of the standard SaaS integration with APIs and, kind of like you can write some JavaScript and that's about as far as you can go with it. So it's an interesting journey as well. Like Divi, we also do a lot of the curation of this as well. We don't want to have 500 of these things. We want to make sure that each one is high quality and valuable, and our customers aren't having to go through kind of decision fatigue, figuring out what's the most, relevant one. So
out of many that do basically the same thing with a tiny different angle on them,
exactly.
And so, Nick, I'll bring this question over to you because there's been from product makers, but also from a perspective of agencies that want to resell or that can benefit from increasing their own ARPU through those opportunities of a paid marketplace. How does WordPress view that?
Well, from like the open source perspective, I honestly don't know the details behind. There's been conversations in the community about there should be a plugin directory where you can have commercial things and buy, purchase plugins through there. I don't have the background to speak on that. But I think that what we're focused on, especially when it comes to like agencies and builders, is how can we increase the knowledge around how to build in a block-based way? It's something that we've seen a lot where it's new. JavaScript is hard, especially people coming from a PHP background. It's a new way of building. Blocks have been in WordPress for a long time, but really in the last year, the whole ecosystem has just leaps and bounds from where it was.
Right.
Like from 5.9 to 6.1 or 2. We just did 2. It's so much more feature rich, and you can do so many more things. And so my personal team is focusing on, or the team that I'm a part of is focusing on documentation. How do we improve? How do we make the onboarding experience better? Because we want new developers to build plugins that add extensions to WordPress. Maybe make those paid in their own way, in their own marketplace, but have paid add-ons. Allow agencies to build with blocks to provide better experiences for their users. And so you need the documentation, you need a stable platform. And I finally think that now that we're past 6.2, we're we're almost finished with phase 2 of Gutenberg and we're moving into phase 3. This is like the best time to be building with blocks, especially if folks haven't started. But we need that education. We need that, documentation and everything around that. I personally, I'm a plugin developer myself, or have been. And there's huge opportunities right now to take advantage of blocks, not to put more competition for Benjamin there, but there's a huge opportunity to build blocks and build interesting things with blocks. We just need to help people get there in the knowledge space. So
I love that. Well, we're going to come back with another question shortly, but before that, let's watch a message from one of our sponsors. So I would like to bring this question, the same concept over to Raitis and Robbie, because I see that you have been expanding your offering to what seems to be maybe even a pivot. I'm intrigued by that step, or expanding your product line to something that may be connected, but also serves other players in the ecosystem through your product, as opposed to, for example, Elementor Cloud that is close to that Elementor component and ecosystem. With the IndieStack, for example, right? There is this concept of opening up, which is interesting to me. So what has made that decision? Why did you decide to go in this direction? And I will bring that same question with Assistant Pro to you, Robbie, with the layouts and all of those cool stuff that are happening there. But Raitis, let's start with you on that front.
Yes, I think as many mentioned already, WordPress itself is not enough. Gutenberg itself is not enough. Any page builder, website builder here alone is not enough. That's why we have marketplaces around products. If there is such an opportunity, as Miriam said, there is an opportunity for people to build business around it. But for end clients, that's an opportunity to get something like an all-in-one solution. And for majority, this is something what people are actually looking for. they want experts, professionals, businesses, give them a set of solutions that actually will work for them. So flexible enough to be used by agencies, simple enough used by the end customer. And with the Indie Stack, yeah, that's also one of the goals, is to basically build this ecosystem as an all-in-one solution where you can actually deliver it for agencies to be used to deliver websites for end customers. And again, we don't look into Indie Stack as something that goes together with Visual Composer or WP Bakery. We are looking and already starting to work with partners, some of them actually present here, to extend that. Just go offer like this something that we have here, like this choice of choosing what tools you want to go with, but get them as an all-in-one solution. And another thing to mention is probably where a lot of tools are recently heading. It's a hosting way when we start to think about monthly revenues. Because if we look on themes and plugins before, it was either annual license or lifetime license. Now more and more products like plugins and extensions and themes start to go after monthly revenue.
I see that, and this has been our journey as well, from going into a plugin over to a SaaS, and going with that same mindset from yearly annual plans to monthly plans that can expand beyond that, and it's essential for the sustainability of the business, and I understand where this is coming from. Robbie, what about Assistant Pro and that marketplace of templates and designs that you are building with your team? How does that connect to to your origin story with Beaver Builder?
We started working on Assistant Pro, which is a separate brand from Beaver Builder, around the time when Gutenberg was not announced, but when it started to actually become viable and used in core. And one of the reasons we want to do that is because our goal is obviously to solve problems that our users are experiencing. And we were seeing similar problems for people using Gutenberg and other page builders. So we wanted to have a separate brand that was not just exclusive to Beaver Builder, where we could work on some of those problems. So the Assistant Pro is a cloud platform where you can upload page designs and design assets.
Right.
And a page builder agnostic, works with most everyone, if not everyone here on the panel's products and Gutenberg. And we wanted to solve like one of the big things it does is if you want to move designs from one WordPress to another to reuse your designs, or if you're working in like a staging production workflow, you can build your pages out on a staging site, upload them to the cloud, bring them down on production. And then the other big piece we wanted to do with that was to foster a community and a marketplace. So similar to kind of how we all share code on GitHub and are able to stand on each other's shoulders, we wanted to have something similar to that for design, where you could finish a design and upload it, and if you choose to share it with the community for free, or have the option to sell it and potentially get some additional revenue from designs you're creating anyways.
I like that, and I'd like to take this over to you, Simon, to understand BaseKit as or BaseKit's position in that market, because you're serving SMBs in many cases, or through collaborations that you have with hosts and big agencies and things like that. But also this can be used as a tool directly for the agency. So I think that this would be a nice roundup around the table. And maybe we can even do this some kind of a rapid fire type of discussion, so we get as many in the short amount of time that we have. I wish we had 4 hours with everyone, right?
It's running out fast.
Yes. So I'd like to pose that question to you, Simon. How do you help and serve agencies?
So, as I said, we're building a tool that is good for anyone to use. We've always had that ethos that we want to build a tool for our end clients to use. And I guess what's interesting is kind of naturally over the past couple of years, we've started to have more and more agencies come to us because I think they recognize that different tools should be used for different projects. I think is the ultimate thing here. WordPress is absolutely fantastic and powers half the web, whatever the statistic is. But there are also customers that we serve that are micro businesses that probably WordPress might be an overkill for because it's actually quite complex to use, and they just want something that's just really, really super simple. This is a really growing market. This is the sort of micro business market, less than full-time employees. In the UK, there are 96%, I think, of businesses are in that bracket, and it's similar in other countries. So I think agencies would be crazy not to be looking at this segment, and it needs them to think in a different way. I mean, it's not about the big ticket, big budget projects. It's about doing lots of websites for less budget, but I think there's the recurring revenue aspect of it as well. So if you're earning 50, $100 for each of these customers, but you can do 10, 20, 30, 50 of these a month, you suddenly are growing a business that's hundreds of thousands of dollars or millions of dollars that maybe you hadn't been able to do before. So I think that's where BaseKit helps. We're a really simple tool that clients can really use and engage with, but agencies can do the same.
Okay, I like that. And I'll bring this straight below Simon over to you, Ben, with that same question. How do you see Stackable serving agencies right now and also going into the future?
Okay, so I guess for Stackable, what we want to present to professionals and web agencies is another viable solution that's very close to core. So aside from, because with page builders, everyone, or at least a lot of people, are familiar with how page builders work already. So a lot of people are familiar with the interface, how things work, that usually you have your tabs there, you have some layout options, styling options, and advanced options. A lot of people are already familiar with that. So for us, our main goal is to bring that type of experience to as close to the native experience as possible. So to be honest, you can actually use both. So you can use native blocks, or you can use stackable blocks for the page builder experience inside the block editor. So there. And then another good benefit is that since everything is in the block editor, anything that the block editor comes out with, any optimizations that WordPress has, Stackable already has that as well. So for example, if for native image blocks, if you add an image, you'll probably have responsive images already in place. And then you'll also have the source set attribute. You'll have that there. And then you also have lazy loading images already activated and already working. So for us, we also get that as well. So, and then any other performance benefits that you have, since with blocks, it's less server processing. And then it's very heavy on the JavaScript side. So there's a lot of things that happens in the editor. But for the front end, there's less server processing involved. It's more like you're getting what's in the database and then plopping it out in the front end and letting the client's browser handle it. So there's a lot of speed benefits from that as well. So anything that future improvements that might be included in WordPress and in the block editor, then that would be accessible as well.
I like that. And I'd like to bring that question over to you, Dimi, regarding that benefit. So we had your session yesterday, and you were talking about the white label solution for the agencies, but that is the external solution from WordPress specifically. So how do you view that world of agencies, and how do you look into serving them more in the future?
Of course, we are focusing on. I think this is very important to offer turnkey solutions.
And by the way, if you want to watch that, if anyone wants to watch that session, this is now in the replays area. Yeah, you can go on and grab that over there. Please, Dimi.
I think there is a very good case to be made for turnkey solutions, and I'm a very big promoter of white labeling. We're actually using, and will have a big part of our Breezy Cloud shopping will be white label, and I'm promoting this white label website builder as a platform to agencies, and this, I think, it's a very strong and great proposition for them, especially for smaller and medium, even bigger agencies. And the idea of having this turnkey solution to offer to your clients, it's besides the obvious benefits that it will build a stronger brand, and maybe it will create a competitive advantage for you as an agency in this very, very competitive space. It can open up a new revenue stream, and you guys touched on MRR and having this predictability and access to this sustainability and cash flow in the MRR, and increasing this. And the idea behind this solution that I think is very powerful for agencies is to sort of capture more revenue that is left on the table with little to no overhead, because we love WordPress. We've started in WordPress in 2009, so a couple of years ago. But sometimes you don't need WordPress. Sometimes it's overkill, and I'm proposing not to replace software stacks. I'm proposing to offer a SaaS solution, a platform besides the services and options that agencies are already offering. So basically capturing some of the cash or some of the revenue that is on the table, and can go to let's not name names. I have someone at the door. Yeah. So this is what I'm proposing: turnkey solutions for small and medium, even larger web agencies.
I like that. And Josh, there was this. I heard this saying a couple of months ago. I think it was about a year ago. Someone told me that Divi found an interesting market where in every town in the world there is the person that the small shop that builds for the local folks, in the associations, in the local meetups and things like that. There is that person, and they found that person, and they reached out to them, and helped them build a small business that is around themselves. That is the small web creator that is in every town around the world. How did you develop that ecosystem? I don't know if this is actually true or not, but that was an anecdote that I found really interesting. Because what I find interesting also from the concept of Divi is that honestly, you're not taking much active role in the WordPress community when it comes to WordCamps and events and things like that. I'm very happy to have you joining today, but you know that this is not a standard thing that usually happens. So how do you connect with agencies and with the community in that sense?
Well, no, I appreciate the question. I can say Raquel's not here, but she is our ambassador.
She's great. Yeah. She's in the chat.
I will speak for her in that she loves the community and she's out there. And COVID hit at the worst time, maybe for all of us. So definitely, we actually had like a Divi actual, like, I forget what we're going to call it, but Divi camp, something where we're actually going to have an in-person event, just like a WordCamp, but all about Divi. And I wanted to circle back, back to the something that Nick had said earlier. But like, if you go back, maybe 10 years or something, we used to be like, WordPress used to be kind of intrigued that, oh my gosh, people can make like a living off of WordPress. But if you fast forward to now, people are making a living off of Divi or other page builders in the room. Like there's entire companies that have their whole business wrapped up in any one of our individual products. So, from the bird's eye perspective, like there's a lot of businesses to be made and there's a lot of fans out there. And so we love them. We're definitely, especially with Divi 5 being all about like a more expanded API, just like opening the doors, whatever we can do, they can do, really the same ethos as the WordPress, the WordPress API as a whole is just to like let people just do things, whatever. So we want to do as best as we can to reach all those individuals out there, everyone in the community. We have an active Facebook group. We have a Discord channel that we're ramping up, especially with devs right now, but that's going to open up even further. So we're very interested in that feedback to make sure that we are giving our users in the community everything they need so they can go build those amazing businesses and be successful.
I like that. Yes, and Raquel was mentioning DiviCon, right? That was the
There
name.
we go.
Event, yes. And so we're going to continue really quick because we're already at 4 p.m., but we still have a few minutes left here, or 4 p.m. UK. It's probably different for every person on this panel. I'd like to take this over to you, Raitis, with that same question. Really, in a sentence, how do you help and serve agencies and web pros?
So I think our biggest goal is to make sure that agencies have enough flexibility while customers get the ease of use. So this is the problem that you need to basically solve. And yes, from our perspective, we are thinking how to give that features to control actually what the end customer receives from an agency. I think that's important because as an agency, you have certain workflow you want to follow, and you have specific features you are using. But this does not transform to your clients. For your clients, you need to deliver something really simple that is supporting their business, supporting their business goals, and that's it. So you don't want to, I think we touched onboarding during discussion earlier, but you don't want end clients of an agency to deal with the onboarding.
Right.
And I think that's the main goal.
I like that. And when it comes to, I'd like to pose that question over to you, Nick, as well, because I'm really interested to see how, because it does feel like WordPress, and especially the Gutenberg project, is moving more in the direction of serving DIYers, which is totally valid. But I do know that a lot of agencies and freelancers are concerned about some of those moves, and they're not really sure if this is actually for them or built for them. So how do you view that?
Yeah, this is a huge issue. Well, but a huge topic. The concept of like governance and being able to, Gutenberg by default just gives you everything. Change margin, change padding, change everything. How do you restrict that to different user roles? Turn it off completely. And having that functionality available to agencies and people building sites for others is incredibly important for the success of the tool. And so some of that functionality is in there. More is going to be added. And it all comes back to documentation. There's a lot of things in there that you can do that many people don't know you can do. You really got to dig deep to find it. And so making people aware that what you can do in the editor is a great first step. I'm also really looking forward to phase 3 of the Gutenberg project, where we talk about collaboration, workflows, publishing flows. We hear this a lot from people who run like publishing companies on WordPress. They have their editor or they have the content creator write the content. Now they want to have publishing checks and the whole process for publishing, which you can't do without additional functionality in WordPress. Can we bring that into the product itself? So huge topic for agencies and people building sites for others. Big topic, definitely a lot of work to be done.
And this is really what where Adarim comes in with that workflow management. We look at this as we have two sides: the visual collaboration and workflow management that connects those two worlds together. I would have loved to keep discussing this with all of you. I wish we had a little more time, but unfortunately we have to wrap up. And let's do it every year. We're just starting. So
good.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you, everyone that has joined us within the chat. The next panel is an interesting one as well. It looks like the two panels back to back are covering 95% of the questions that happen within Facebook groups in the space. What is the page builder and what is the hosting company that you want to address? So I'd like to encourage you to stick around for the next one as well. Once again, I want to thank all of you for taking time, for coming in, for building this incredible group discussion here. I learned a lot, and I hope that you learned from each other as well and shared some experiences here also. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thanks,
Guido.
Awesome. Cheers.
Thank you, everyone.
Let's run this final ad, and we're going to wrap up with this.